Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. That's weird. I can't do nothing about it right now. Okay, so this is the Comic Book Chronicles, and hopefully we're going to be all right for this one because I'm not going to start over again.
We're crossing our fingers, folks.
Yeah, the OBS is saying something about the thing is encoded, and I haven't done anything. So hopefully it looks like streaming is doing all right, though. Regardless, this is Comic Book Chronicles, and it's got a woman here. I am Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Twitter. Excuse me. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter also.
With Columbia down the way.
And sound effects you have heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody?
You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You could also find us on your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can also find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. On the Click the Nation's YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/theclicknation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. And I guess we will have an upcoming announcement. We'll save that one for later because we will go into the movie protocol at some point very soon. Or soon.
Yeah, not that soon,
well,
but
yeah,
soon enough.
It's another month. But like I said, we'll get to that in a minute. But we're going to start off right now by talking about a quick recap of Moon Knight Episode 2.
Alrighty, so Episode 2 is titled Summon the Suit. And for longtime fans of Moon Knight, that's going to seem like a weird concept. And if there's anything that you have to kind of get comfortable with coming into this show, is that this is the MCU version of Moon Knight. And it is drawing upon several of the elements of the comic book origin of the character, but definitely adapting it for the screen, either, just for the Disney Plus screen or for future installments and appearances. So when I say that they're adapting it, there is a pretty distinct change in how Moon Knight robes himself. Let's put it that way.
Yes, this is true. And also on that note, there was a newer aspect of the character in one of his suits that we saw actually sooner than I expected to be honest. I figured that would have been like a last episode thing. But apparently we got something almost front and center not too long ago. But to get into it though, we start off with Stephen Grant waking up. He's chained to the bed. It's that one scene from the trailer where he's getting out of bed and he's chained and he falls over. And then we see him kind of going to work and he's runs into the security guard who's about to who I guess is cordoning off the place because he's about to look at the security tapes from the previous night, to which we know what happened to Stephen. I'm about to call him Mark. It's so easy to call him Mark, knowing that that's usually the main character in the comics, but what we're starting off with is this other aspect, Stephen. So it's kind of weird. So you're gonna have to forgive me for that.
Definitely.
One. But either way, so Stephen's like, well, let me come watch with you because he knows what's happened. And he's like telling the guards like, yeah, this is some stuff, man. This is calling them bruv and so this is some stuff that's gonna melt your brain and some MI6 / whatever stuff. But apparently, when they're going through the footage, all they see is Steven kind of fumbling around. Like we see, from what the audience knows, that Steven got chased by a jackal creature through the museum and whatnot. But the security cameras doesn't pick that up and just see kind of Steven kind of running through the museum, and of course there's the breakage, the breaking of the bathroom stuff that we don't see because I guess they obviously don't have the cameras in there, which kind of has Mark. Seriously, I'm going to keep doing that. Has Steven cut a little bit perplexed, but then it cuts to Steven. Steven in, I guess that was his boss's office, or that HR, or not his boss's office, but that's like
it's HR.
Yeah, the HR. Which when I saw this part, I was like, like HR has never, I have never come across an HR that says we're with you or something like that. I'm like, yeah, right, and especially with my last instances with HR, I'm like, no, these was
well,
nothing
I mean,
like
considering
that.
Considering how the encounter with HR ended, I guess they were being as sympathetic as possible, but at the same time doing the dirty deed.
Sure.
So, I wanted to mention before we got to this part that there are, it's evident here that, they had to make choices. It is, after all, a Disney Plus TV show. It is not a movie. And I felt like, there are storytelling choices that they make that also work well with the budget that they plan to have.
Yes.
And I felt like that choice to make the jackal fight invisible for the most part was a choice that bent towards both of those masters.
Right.
The relatively limited budget as well as storytelling.
Right. Yeah. Which and it does kind of make sense because let's face it, like as far as Steven knows, he's losing his mind, and a lot of stuff that he's been seeing is, while no one else sees it, that's pretty much how it's been. So it makes sense in that regard also. But anyway, like Agent 70 said, Steven pretty much gets the axe. He goes to talk to Crowley again, who's outside being a living statue. Except for this time, we get Crowley makes an expression when Steven hugs him after he leaves, or before he leaves. So there is that. But then I think we see. I think this was a conversation where he said like he's gonna basically try to find out what's going on with the key and the cell phone that he found in his apartment. Excuse me, his flat, as they say, or whatever. So he goes to find.
It's London, baby.
Exactly. So he goes to find the storage unit, and apparently he goes through a couple of different places. Until he finds the right one, because the person at the front knows him, recognizes his face, and takes him to his thing. We get the one QR code, which I don't know if you did you check that QR code that showed up?
I did not, but I noticed it.
Yeah. So basically, it takes you to, because I did it. It takes you to Marvel Unlimited, and specifically, I believe it might be more there to it, but I know it was definitely the first appearance of Moon Knight, which is Werewolf by Night 32, 33, something like that. Mm-hmm. And that's where the QR code for it, and I think it must be free up there, because looking on that page, it was basically saying like, hey, you can read this for free or something.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's another instance later on of Moon Knight's first instance that apparently shows up later on. But regardless, is that dude opens up the storage bin. Steven goes in and he sees the stuff that apparently is there from Mark, including the fake, it's not fake, but passports and a cot and other stuff. And apparently, well, we'll get to that later, because I was about to say there was something that came up in the news that leads. I'll say it now. So apparently, one of the things that shows up in here is the passport from Mark Spector, which seems to suggest that he made it through the snap.
Right, like it was issued during the period of the blip.
Right. So apparently, because of that, we know that he was still around. But that being said,
I wanted to mention something very quickly before you move on.
Sure.
So, one of the things I always get a kick out of when it comes to editorializing, right? When people, when people write how they write and they write what they do when they are describing something.
Mm-hmm.
So the recap that we're going off of is from Marvel.com, and I love that what they write is. The only thing in the storage unit are a cot, emergency supplies, clothes, and a duffel bag containing, the things that Roddykat just mentioned, including a bunch of cash in different currencies. And the first thing I saw was, well, this is obviously, someone who is prepared. This is the mark of a military person, especially the cot, the army cot that's in there. As well as the supplies that are sitting around. It's very austere, it's very spare, really only holding the necessities. And that's what struck me. Not so much that there's not much in there, but it's just that what's in there is what is absolutely necessary.
Right. I thought about that too. Because I was like, wait, could you actually do something like that? I mean, I know you probably could. If it's your storage bin, you can do whatever you want with it, almost put it to a point. But because I thought about that at that point, I'm like, yeah, I guess you could do something like that and just kind of have some stuff in there just for. For prep.
No, you absolutely could. My understanding is that they're not supposed to let anyone sleep there,
right?
But you can stay there for extended periods,
right?
I know people that have had that ran small businesses, like side hustles out of their storage units. They might keep a desk and stuff if they have to process things in there. But that's my understanding is that they generally don't allow for people to stay overnight.
Right.
But you can obviously, store a cot in there, and if you need to lay down, you can lay down.
Right. Right. And apparently, from what I found out from someplace else, there's an episode of Atlanta, if anybody knows that show, where one of the characters did something similar. So that's kind of funny. But moving right along, he finds the stuff, and I think there was a conversation between Mark and Steven in reflection. Mark's basically trying to tell Steven to go ahead and take a nap and let me take over and not to interfere. And Steve is like, nope, he's not ever sleeping again. And he takes the bag of money and the passports or whatever. And I think the scarab also, which is the key point there.
Right, you missed the part. You missed the part where the scarab reveals itself to be the golden snitch from Harry Potter and Quidditch.
Yes, I've heard
that's another
that
story.
Also. Yes.
It's the first thing I thought.
Actually, when I first saw it, when they first showed it in the first episode, I thought that too. I was like, yeah, sure, there is that thing. So so Steven grabs up all that stuff, walks out, and gets chased by Khonshu. And I don't know if you caught that, but there was the one freeze frame of Steven's face before the chase happens. I'm sitting here like, what in the world? I was like, you would think Yakety Sax was about to happen because it was kind of comical. When that happened, but regardless, Khonshu chases Steven throughout the storage area, which is unlike any storage place that I've ever been to.
I've only been to a few, so I can't say.
Yeah, I know there's inside because I know the ones around here have inside and outside, and this place seems I don't know, a little different. But anyway, but it could be a London thing. Who knows? Either way, chase happens. It goes outside where Steven almost gets hit by Layla, who shows up on a bike, on a moped, excuse me. And she's still not fooled by, thinking she's not fooled by his accent and thinking he's still Mark, which she calls him. And he convinces her to take her to his flat where he could try to explain things. And then they go there, they talk. Mark's basically is into the reflections talking about leave her out of this. She's not having nothing to do with this. Layla explains the fact that they're still married, to which obviously Steven would not know about. And she also brings divorce papers. All this happens. Steven shows her the scarab and basically gives it to her because he's like, he doesn't want it, which obviously is going to put her in harm's way. And then I believe this is when the detectives come knocking on the door, looking for Steven because of the whole museum incident. But And there's a little something about them that's comic book related about these two detectives in a way, but we'll get to that. Well, it may not be of any issue, but basically there is a comic book thing to that. So anyway, they come in to talk to her. Layla's skipped out of the window. They basically take Stephen to go see Arthur Harrow, unbeknownst to him. Where they're in some descript part of the town where he set up a commune or something.
Yeah, that was weird.
Right.
You know, I thought it was a pretty convincing double cross there. You know, having the inside, having these agents of Harrow, Arthur Harrow, on the inside of the London, Metro Police.
Right.
You know, when they announced themselves as DC, I was like, Detective Constable, is that what that stands for? I never Googled it, but
Yeah.
I was guessing.
I believe that is because I think I only know that because of like shows like Luther where I've watched where it's like, yeah, I think that's what they call themselves.
And that's an ignominious way for the Mets to score their first run of the season.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. It is opening day tonight.
Yeah. So the constable, so the detectives take, like I said, take Stephen to see Harrow, but on the way they basically pull up Mark Spector because they saw the passport that Stephen had on him in his bag, and they basically to say that, hey, yeah, Mark is an international mercenary. He's wanted for a hit on a dig site, which basically could go back to the origins of to Moon Knight in the comics. Not necessarily in the same way, because it sounds like they may sound like he killed everybody, but I guess there's going to be more to that story in the coming episodes. But like I said, they take him to see Harrow, who's in this commune that he apparently set up. And basically he and Stephen, I keep trying to say Mark, and I'm trying not to do that, folks, so you got to forgive me for this. But Stephen and Harrow talk, and Harrow basically says that he's trying to convince Stephen that, he says that he was also a Fist of Vengeance, which I know is a kind of, I believe is a more recent thing in the comics for Moon Knight, but it's basically blending his what Moon Knight calls himself.
Right, and it's mildly confusing because we're used to being, we're used to being treated to a spirit of vengeance, but not necessarily a fist of vengeance. Right. Being the fist of Khonshu was always one thing, but it never translated to being working for a god, an Egyptian god of vengeance per se. Right. And that's kind of, it's kind of crossing a few different wires in my brain. I don't know about you.
Well, it kind of did until I saw something out there that made sense. Because basically, like you said, the Fist of Khonshu is the thing that we've seen in the comics before. I believe in another set of Moon Knight comics, which I don't remember reading, vengeance did come up in the title. The subheading of the title, whatever the case may be. But then I think I saw on an Easter egg video that brought up Jason Aaron's run of the Avengers when they did a whole Age of Khonshu thing, and that's when the Fist of Vengeance thing came up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we read that. We read that in real time. Right. So, that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
And, it's just, but like I said, that it being that recent actually plays into what I was saying even more.
Right. Exactly.
We're just not used to hearing that.
Exactly. Because I was like, because just like you, I was like, well, that seems weird because obviously, like I said, the Fist of Khonshu thing. But then once I saw that, I was like, oh, right. Okay. There we go. And I forgot about the whole Fist of Vengeance titling during that, of that thing. So I was like, okay.
I wonder if they ever, whenever they reintroduce Ghost Rider into the MCU, I wonder if they're going to make him something not the Spirit of Vengeance.
I kind of wonder about that. Yeah, I don't know. I suspect they might still do that, but who even knows at this point of if and or when that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just kind of curious.
Yeah. So I agree with, because I thought about the same thing also. So, But yeah, Harold's talking to Stephen. He basically was like, "Yeah, I was the first. I was also the Fist of Vengeance first. And basically, talking down about Khonshu, because like, he can't really do much. You know, he can blow some stuff over, do this and that and the other, but he can't really do anything to you. And even when, you know, we hear Khonshu's voice and Steven hears it, and you know, it seems like Harold even knows what basically he's saying in a certain part of it. It's like, oh, he's telling you this and that and the other, huh? You know. And basically, he goes on to say that Harold goes on to say that Khonshu isn't even liked by the rest of the gods. So, which, you know, who's to say that may or may not be true. So yeah, anyway, we continue with this Harold talking and Steven and them talking, and basically trying to play up Amit, who is, I guess, who Harold is working for now. Sorry, got another thing going on here. So basically, Harold's basically talking up Amit and talking down Khonshu, and I think Mark pops up, and Harold talks to him and basically saying that he's, you know, Khonshu's never gonna let you go. You know, you're gonna be working for him for.
He's never gonna give you up. Oh no, he's got ripple.
Nice. He's like basically telling Mark / Steven, like, Khonshu's never gonna go on his word. You're gonna be working for him forever, and there's always gonna be a last mission, this and that and other. And then Steven kind of pops back up and is like, well, Amit's methods aren't necessarily right either, because you're basically judging people before they even do anything. You know, that whole back and forth.
It's very whatchamacallit. It's very oh my God, what's that Tom Cruise movie?
Yes, Minority Report did actually come up.
Minority Report,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is that. So what happens? Oh yeah, they're going through the commune. Layla comes up and with the scarab, and later she was like, summon the suit. And Steve is like, what? Huh? So he doesn't know what he's talking about, and then they end up running until they get to looks like a attic or something, a big attic or something, where they seem to be trapped by this jackal beast that's Harrow summons.
Right.
And which Layla can't see, but Steven can. So there is that. Steven does end up summoning a suit after he falls out of a window. I mean, after he gets knocked out of a window.
It's not the suit he was expecting.
No, it is not. Well, it's not the suit we were expecting. That's for certain.
That too.
Yeah. In fact, it is the suit that is known as the Mr. Knight suit, which is a more recent thing in the comics. Which is why I said earlier, it's like, I wasn't really expecting to see this suit this early on in the show. But there you go. And for those that don't know, the Mr. Knight persona is kind of more of a detective, you know, kind of Sherlock Holmes, I guess, in a certain way.
Well, he's more adept at being a person,
right,
as opposed to being, you know, the fist of Khonshu.
Right.
So, you know, he's definitely more willing to speak to people, police, etc., etc. So, it's definitely a different aspect of the Moon Knight character.
Right. Oh, also we get a superhero landing in a way, which was kind of funny.
Right.
Yeah. So we get a landing, but then he kind of just falls over, and it's still Steven kind of in control of the body, so he gets up, you know, sees himself in a reflection, and then the jackal kind of comes in and starts some stuff with it again. They apparently Steven kind of gets a little bit of confidence and you know, hits the jackal thing, at one point, we get his Moon Knight sticks, his truncheons from
truncheons.
Yeah. We see those come out, but he doesn't really use them.
I was about to say, you made it sound like it was monkeyins.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm from the South, you know. So Mr. Knight kind of they kind of wrestle about a little bit, but the jackal still kind of gets the upper hand until Mark ends up taking over, and then we get the Moon Knight suit proper come back into play. And the most of this scene is just Moon Knight running and being chased by the Jackal up until the one part where we see in the trailer where he's jumping over from building to building, and takes care of the Jackal by impaling him on a pointed statue or whatever that was.
Yeah, it looked like a steeple.
Yeah.
So,
but it was like something close to the ground.
It was a fitting way for him to find and use something in the environment, because we really have only seen not crescent darts, but just a single crescent that he's used as a weapon at this point. So we've not yet completely seen the repertoire of weapons that Moon Knight has used in the comic books. We've seen them displayed. The truncheon is a little, is definitely like an old school thing. We're used to the truncheons being on his forearms. But we still haven't seen like the full range of weaponry that Moon Knight normally wields in the comic books here on the MCU show through 2 episodes.
Yep. So after the fight, Mark is still in control of the body. Stevens is in the reflections, and they have a talk. Stevens trying to get back in control of the body. Mark's like, nah, I don't think so. And I think, basically leads them to having an argument, and Mark kind of kicking the glass, the glass part of that steeple thing or whatever the Jackal monster got impaled on. Khonshu comes in and basically says, yeah, you know what, hey, you do this for me and I'll definitely let you go. Let you go about your business, because Mark's still under the belief that Khonshu's going to be a person of his word or a god of his word. Stevens doesn't believe it, obviously, but there is that. And then I think this is when we cut to after this conversation between Mark and Khonshu, we cut to the end scene where we see Mark. Well, we assume that's Mark. Anyway, I'm not entirely sure, but we assume that's Mark waking up with a bottle in his hands, and he's in Egypt.
Yep.
And that's pretty much what ends the episode.
All right. So I like this episode. I like where they're going with this. As I mentioned at the top, it's still, it still takes a little getting used to seeing a new character being introduced in a different way than what we're used to seeing them in the comics.
Right.
And seeing the adjustments that they make. I wanted to mention, I'm not sure if you mentioned it in passing, what the detective constables mentioned about looking into Mark Spector's past while they were hauling him to the commune area.
Yeah. About him being a mercenary, and he was at a Egyptian. Yeah, I did mention that. Yes.
Okay, so that was an interesting insight into what we're used to, what we are accustomed to, because we are not used to Stephen Grant being a gift shopper.
Right.
It's not something that we are even remotely familiar with. Stephen Grant in the comic books is the Bruce Wayne alter ego of Mark Spector. So it's interesting here that Stephen Grant is literally the Peter Parker aspect of Mark Spector.
He probably won't be taking pictures of himself though, but yes.
right. But in the sense that it's just a regular guy with a pretty decent moral compass.
Right.
And someone who is just has a little bit of the Parker luck, as it were. At least that's the way we're seeing him portrayed and written in the story so far. So it's different to see that particular aspect of the Moon Knight character being, the alter that we see here.
Right.
I confess to not being that familiar with the Moon Knight character. I know that there were at least 3 personalities. There were 3 distinct personas that Moon Knight had. One was a cab driver, and I assumed that was going to be the Steven character. But we're definitely straying away from the comic books in that the Steven character is not like filthy rich and can afford like a moon jet and things like that.
Right.
So,
and Mark being the mercenary who's normally the main, the main identity.
Personality. Yeah, exactly. The main personality, the main identity. Yeah.
So, and seeing that shift has definitely been different, especially like when going into this whole thing. Like, that's a weird change, but I guess there's a reason for that. To which I guess we'll find out. Which is kind of sad, because if we end up seeing Steven, I guess that's what we don't really know at this point. Like, or Steven's not the one in control anymore, and so is he going to continue to be a backseat, or will at some point he ends up being the main, the main personality, but giving way to Mark, at times of distress.
Right.
So it's a weird, and we got 4 more episodes to go, so I guess we'll find out that.
I mean, there's still plenty of time. There's still plenty of time in the story, and to see the story develop.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that was Moon Knight episode 2. It was definitely, I'm not gonna say it's a better episode, because I enjoyed the first one, so I don't want to make it sound like I didn't enjoy the first one. But like I said last week, a lot of that stuff we saw in trailers, we just, as Age 70 said, getting context for it. This is just pretty much, quote unquote, mostly all new stuff, with the exception of a couple of scenes that were in the trailer.
Right. I think the jumping across the buildings.
Yes. That was
was in the trailers, and I think that was probably it in terms of like what we've seen in the trailer. So,
well, that was the thing with the crescent dart.
Was pretty well. No, what I was going to say is, and hold on to your thought. What I was going to say is, most of this episode was pretty new to everyone.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the part with the crescent dart, where he's grabbing a crescent dart. When he's pulling off, I think that was in a couple of trailers also.
Oh, okay. I mean, I try to stay, and this is something we've talked about before on the show, is that I've become want to not watch every single trailer that comes out. I'll watch the first one, maybe the second one, but any of the little ones, or if I see a commercial, I might look away, as impractical as that is sometimes. So, just to avoid any further spoilers and or just hints of what might happen.
Yeah. At a certain point,
that's just something I've started to do.
No, and because it makes sense, because at a certain point, as we know from a lot of trailers will end up giving up a whole lot of the movie at a certain point. Like, you get to see 1 or 2 trailers just to get the point of it, and after that, they're just overloading you with either stuff that's in the movie or rehashing stuff in different ways,
Right.
So it's kind of not worth it to watch the trailers, or a lot of the trailers, I should say. So I get that. But anyway, we should move on to the books of the week, having dealt with that. And we did say we were going to start off with, I believe, Fantasy 4 number 42, which I guess, now that I think about it, we probably should have just gotten Moonlight out of the way, since that came out this week.
That is fair enough. I mean, we could pivot.
Yeah, we'll do that, actually.
All right, so we'll pivot. Pivot!
Moon Knight number 10.
That's a Friends reference, folks. Moon Knight number 10 is written by Jed MacKay, with art by Alessandro Cappuccio, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So this issue has some interesting revelations in it, and it fills in a little bit of the gap that happens during the whole Devil's Reign crossover with Moon Knight. Right. And it definitely plays with what we were expecting. It plays with our expectations and plays with what we and the character Moon Knight were expecting, post his participation in Devil's Reign, which coincidentally finally freaking finishes this week. So, but yeah, no, we have a character that was introduced somewhere else, and apparently this is the first time we're seeing this character in full. It happens to be a character who broke out of Ravencroft Institute and is looking to settle some kind of score with Moon Knight. And what they hold in common is that they're both being treated by the same psychiatrist or therapist.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess it's a psychiatrist.
They do say therapist most of the time, but I mean, yeah. I think throughout the whole issue they've said therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you say you did say the creative team, did you?
I did.
Okay, sorry. But yeah, so most of the issue is pretty much this winter person and Moon Knight kind of going against each other until a revelation ends up forming.
Exactly. That's related to their mutual connection.
And then Clayface shows up. No, well.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, the Marvel version, right?
Right, which I had never, because I had to look up that character. I'm like, wait a minute, who is this? Like, why did they put Clayface in here? But yeah, as I just said, it's a version of them that is apparently a character from a good. It's a pull.
Yes, it's a deep pull.
Yeah, it is a deep pull starting from Spider-Woman from what I looked up. So I'm like, okay, sure.
And it's not, listen, and that's definitely something that McKay is good at.
Yeah.
As it were, he definitely has a grasp of Marvel history and is definitely willing to delve and dig into Marvel lore to pull out characters and even stories. And I kind of giggled when you said that, because it crossed my mind, and I couldn't even begin to tell you the last time I had ever even seen this character.
Right. Like, I don't ever remember seeing this character. Like I said, which is why I said I had to go look him up. I was like, is this actually a new character, or is this someone that actually that's been around for a while? And turns out, yeah, this character's been around for a minute. So. Now, the early days of Spider-Woman, I don't know that much about, which is probably why I didn't know about it. But apparently, I think this character has come up fairly recently. Now that I think about it, when I looked into him, but I don't remember it, even though I think it's something I read. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, that's it. It ends up this other character, this Clayface character, ends up being a part of the situation. And I guess the bridge for Moon Knight to go forward quite ruthlessly in dealing with this character.
Well, what's funny about it is that nothing's going to actually happen to this character. He'll just be trapped.
Right.
You know, it's definitely, let's say, reminiscent of how Spidey dealt with the Juggernaut.
Sure. Or I guess Hydra Man and Sandman, but then again, you know, at one point in time. But even they got out of that situation. This one, I don't know. I would not want to be trapped in that situation. Let's put it that way.
Oh no! I was about to say that it's definitely cruel and unusual, but at the same time, you know, the assembled heroes and anti-heroes that are working with Moon Knight at this point are definitely okay with it, and they're moving on. They're moving forward to take on Zodiac, who is revealed as the kind of main villain of this arc in the last several issues.
Right. We also know there's another part that hasn't come up yet, but I assume we know someone that is close to Mark is basically spying on him, who was also in that there in the beginning. So we're curious if the people they're spying for is going to get involved at some point. With this, one way or the other. But guess we'll find out. Now we can go on to, I guess, Fantastic Four.
And you know what? Before we move on, I thought it was funny, and I think it's still funny that over the course of this now 10-issue long series, we have seen virtually every costume iteration that Moon Knight has. And part of that probably helps to get us used to the idea that, you know, there are different versions of the character and different costumes that come in and out.
Right.
In the comics, we're not used to the idea yet of him robing himself the way he does in the series.
Right.
You know, maybe that'll become part of his powers now.
Oh, yeah, like they tend to do is the stuff from the MCU coming back into the comics.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Cross pollination, cross referencing here because we're not used to that. We're
yeah.
used to these things being uniforms, as it were.
Honestly, this one I can safely, outside of what I've said about what they're doing with Shang-Chi in the comics now, this one wouldn't be a bad fit. Honestly, I wouldn't mind this if they did do that. Taking aspects from what we've seen in the show, and especially with, like you said,
But that
integrate that.
particular aspect, right?
Right,
Like the way he robes himself,
right,
because it seems ponderous to have like a closet full of these things, because we've seen the black costume. Like this is this is kind of the black costume, as it were,
right.
with like the armor plating on it, right? I think it's colored and shaded a little differently here in this issue, but I think this is the black costume that has like armor plates on it. We've also seen like the all white, like classic costume, and we've seen the Mr. Knight costume in this series.
Right.
So, it will be interesting to see if they interpret the way if they bring that over from the MCU now.
Right. Yeah, like I said, in that respect, I wouldn't mind it. So,
especially if it goes along, if it's connected to the dissociative identity disorder.
Right. Yeah, to which we haven't really seen too many of the other aspects, which I thought he had gotten rid of at one point in recent history. But I could be wrong about it, because I know there was like the last couple of volumes of Moon Knight kind of was dealing with some of that stuff. But I don't know if that was actually the case or not. But I guess hopefully we'll find out. So now we can move on. Like I said,
sure.
Fantastic Four number 42.
All righty. Fantastic Four number 42 is written by Dan Slott with art by Rachel Stott, colors by Jesus Aburtov and Eric Arciniega, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna.
So this was an issue.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening here. Let me lead off and I'll hand it off to you. So, the issue opens with the Badoon continuing their invasion of Earth and making a beeline to the Baxter Building. And once at the Baxter Building, the Richards kids and the Grimm kids, together with Alicia Masters, are looking to do something to stop the Badoon from getting to what seems to be their goal, which is the Forever Gate that's being stored being housed, not stored, but housed in the current Baxter Building. Meanwhile, the erstwhile Fantastic Four, consisting of the Thing, Reed Richards, Jack of Hearts, and She-Hulk, are off in Shi'ar space looking to do whatever it is they're doing. I actually forgot at this point, and Roddykat will probably fill everyone in. But they are there looking to retrieve, if I recall correctly, something to do with the M'Kraan crystal.
Right.
And at that point, they get the distress call. Reed gets the distress call from Valeria saying that the Badoon are about to capture the Forever Gate, and they institute Protocol Zero, I think it was called.
That's correct.
And basically, Reed tells Ben that they initiated a self-destruct and everyone was dead. And I'll leave Roddykat to talk about how that plays out over the course of the issue. Meanwhile, we have She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts giving Ben and Reed some time to sort that out, but they end up running into the Reckoning. It sounds like a bad 90s rock band, the Reckoning.
Right.
I don't know if it's a Christian rock band or if it's just an indie rock band, but it's the Reckoning.
Yeah, that sounds like a Christian rock band.
So obviously something I would never listen to. And
or a Christian rap band. Or
what's that?
Or a Christian rap band.
Lord, even something I would throw something at. It's not the spirit of hip hop, but anyway, we can argue about that. But send all your tweets at agent_70 on that one. It's not the spirit of hip hop, people. But anyway, so I will hand that off to Roddykat and he will take it from there.
Yeah, much else to say. So basically, as of the whole Ben and Reed thing. So yeah, Ben, when he's told, obviously, feels a certain way because Reed basically told them to presumably told them to self-destruct, and that all of them were dead. Ben doesn't necessarily take that in a good way because obviously that's his kids and his family, including Reed's kids. That's a family that he thinks is gone. So he gets real pissed off and goes at Reed. And this is, I guess, this was the fight we had been alluded to many months ago, that presumably that one of them were supposed to die. Excuse me. Not one of them, but where I think Reed was supposed to die. Not because the whole Ben thing had already happened. That part.
Right. So what's funny is that hold your thought. What's funny about that is that I think that had actually that scenario, the specific scenario that they had seen, had already played out.
Right.
But as Roddykat mentioned, this might have been just a variation on that.
Right, because as we saw in the last issue, a variation of what would have happened to Ben did actually happen, but not in the way that it was originally presented.
Right, or originally foretold.
Right,
allegedly. So go ahead.
Right. So yeah, so needless to say, Ben, they fight, or actually Ben fights Reed. Reed's trying to hold them off, and they basically get to a point to where, which seems unnecessary to me. It was like Ben, but Ben's obviously upset and taking it out on Reed because he what he thinks he knows, until he finds out otherwise, and then we get to find out that that whole Protocol Zero thing was not necessarily what Reed told it to be, but Reed gives a reason as to why that wasn't the case. So, which is I guess it makes sense during what's going on, but you feel like you could have done it a different way. Reed could have done it a different way, as opposed to putting himself through that, even though he thinks he thinks he's going to die, whether that actually case. So I guess in that respect, he didn't matter one way or the other. It didn't matter one way or the other to him. So yeah, so that's still the case. And Ben obviously is like, okay, I still don't trust you, but here we are. So then I guess this is when they go back after She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts. And yeah, like you said, they were basically chasing down the Imcron crystal in Shi'ar space, which was taken by the Reckoning. And they end up in whatever that other space they were in the end of this issue, which apparently was a trap. So,
wait, what did you call it?
Wait, what?
What did you call it?
The space? I don't remember what I just said.
No. Seriously, is that really what you called it? I mean, you couldn't give me a chance to look for Admiral Akbar.
Oh, it's a trap.
Now I can't find it. That's so funny. That is so funny.
Forgot you had that.
I know. I'm like looking for it now. I'm just like, where did it go? I have too many sound effects sometimes, folks. I have to weed out the ones that I don't use that often, and it's a process, folks. Yeah. It is a process, and I use it all the time, which is funny. Oh, here we go. It's a trap. Thank you.
Here we go. So yeah, so this team of Fantastic Four is in a trap. And that's where they leave off. But at the end of this issue, we see Dr. Doom in a swamp, presumably in the what is it called? The Nexus of All Realities, probably near there.
Yeah, that's what I think is implied.
Yeah, and he's talking to somebody. At first I thought he was talking to Swamp Thing, but he's probably not. Because this is the Reckoning War, so given the image that we see after the last page of the book, probably Doom's fighting an enemy, one of the Reckoning. Also, I guess we forgot to mention about the part where Johnny and the Unparalleled go and help Wiccan and Hulkling with the Reckoning in their part of the universe, and they bring some friends along.
Yeah, they bring some extra backup.
Yeah, like a couple of groups of backup for that matter. Which is kind of funny to see. So I guess it's gonna be one big slobber knocker at the end of this all with when everybody comes back together.
Right. And if you're keeping up with the Thor book, it's kind of tough to see Beta Ray Bill there with his version of Stormbreaker. I'm like, when is this happening? That's not accurate anymore.
Right.
But in any event, are you wrapping up or?
Yeah, we're pretty much done there. So that was it.
Okay. I wanted to mention just make a mention of one thing during this issue that I rather enjoyed. I rather enjoy in this book that Nick Fury has been given an increased role. He's not, I kind of miss his voice in comics.
Mm-hmm.
I just do. I feel like, old school, like OG Nick Fury, like I feel like he's like the Ed Burns character from Saving Private Ryan. He's Private Rybin.
Right.
Or Corporal Rybin. I think he was a corporal. I can't recall exactly, but definitely from Brooklyn. Definitely has an accent. Definitely has an attitude about following orders and giving orders and whatnot. So, I really enjoy seeing and specifically hearing Nick Fury kind of skulking as a character in the shadows.
Right. So funny you mentioned that because sometimes when I hear the OG Nick Fury's voice, I think of Tommy Lee Jones's character in Captain America: The First Avenger.
Oh yeah, so that's a different voice.
Right, but I could also see it coming. Like if he did a version of Nick Fury, I can almost see it.
Oh, you mean Tommy Lee Jones?
Right.
Yeah, like the older current Nick Fury.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much wraps up Fantastic Four number 42. This is leading to I don't know how many more issues we got of this whole Reckoning Roar thing.
I don't think it's that many.
Yeah.
But I know that they're crossovers, so it's kind of hard to say.
Right, that is true. So.
But I was about to say I think the last book that we're going to talk about during reviews is probably Black Widow number 15.
I believe that is the case.
So Black Widow number 15 is written by Kelly Thompson with pencils by both Elena Casagrande and Rafael Pimentel. Inks are by Elisabetta D'Amico and Rafael T. Pimentel. Colors are by Jordi Belair. That's a name we haven't spoken of in a long time. And letters by VC's Clayton Cowles and Corey Pettit. So this is definitely a book full of teamwork, amongst the creative team. And we pick up this issue with Natasha against the Living Blade. And what's great about this book, and what I'm going to unfortunately miss about this book, and we'll get to that when we wrap up our review of this, is that Casagrande's art and I guess the pacing that Kelly Thompson put into this book allowed for multiple panels to tell very subtle parts of the story and action parts of the story. So there is literally a part of this book within the first 2 pages of the story that shows a sign language sequence. And if you are familiar with Hawkeye at this point in time, you know why he's using it and why he knows it. And as the story progresses, we have the Living Blade and all of the machinations that have been going on during this story arc kind of playing to their I don't want to say logical end, but that seems to be how it played out, because all of the characters introduced here played the roles that they were meant to play, even if it was kind of a roundabout way.
Mm-hmm.
The heroes that are on Natasha's side kind of band together. Something that was pretty dramatic gets fixed in a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina type of way in this issue. Literally kind of falling, like walking down the hallway, kind of falling out of the sky the way a Deus Ex Machina normally would in literature. And, the reveal was, shocking to me, but I was like, oh, that's convenient. But then there's a part in this book that I particularly enjoyed. And it's not that big a spoiler, but it was really nice to see the Winter Soldier kind of doing Winter Soldier things.
Yes.
You know, it's been a long time since we've seen it. Like literally like mowing through a bunch of bad guys. Like and not flinching, not ducking, not taking a hit, nothing. And it was kind of refreshing.
Yeah, even even a nice little trick shot flourish at the end.
Exactly. And I understand that we're supposed to give, as storytellers are wont to do, and I put myself into their shoes as a comic book fan and as a fan of genre, right? We're supposed to give heroes nearly insurmountable odds. But every once in a while, when they're facing surmountable odds, we need to show off some of the hero's skill. And that's what I kind of miss when it comes to the Winter Soldier. In you know, in the TV show, obviously they've neutered him to a certain extent. You know, because they, one, don't have the budget for a lot of those action sequences, and two, they don't necessarily want to have him come off as like this big violent dude, right? Oh, for goodness sake, Trevor May. Sorry, guys, but you know, like literally, like what, second pitch into the game? Goodness. So, but at this point, I'm about to hand it off to Roddykat, but at a point where the Living Blade kind of is getting the better, let's say. He's getting the better of Yelena Belova, and Natasha has to come back at the Living Blade, newly refocused, let's say. And I'll leave it, and I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
I mean, like I said, there is really not much else to say for that. The only thing I can say is like you said, it was very convenient the way things, quote unquote, no pun intended, came together. For that one part, and as I was reading this, and Clint was kind of taking Nat and was like, "Yeah, we could do this and this, that, and the other." I was like, "Oh yeah, they could very much do this and that." So I was thinking, well, maybe that's where they're going with this, you know. And turns out, no, we got this we got this fix it thing to kind of clean everything back up, put everything back to put things together again. So that kind of bummed me out in a way, because I was like, well, you don't do something like that. Obviously, you don't do something like that without having a way to fix it, you know. But also, like they could have gone the way that was expressed in the in this issue, and I would have been fine with it. But you know, I guess there's a reason why they basically put everything back in the box with a certain within certain reason. So, but yeah, like I said, we pretty much get a nice, kind of neat wrap up to this volume, and much less, and most of the stories. Obviously, there's some things that can't really get wrapped up because they're kind of stuff that's set in stone. In Natasha's mind state about a past thing. But outside of that, everything was pretty much nicely and neatly wrapped up with something to come back to later. And I believe we do have news about that later in the show, about a potential that potentially happening. But as it stands right now, this is the last issue of this book and Black Widow volume as of this point, until we find out what else is coming up down the pipe. Excuse me. We were good for rapid.
Yeah, rapid fire time. I'm gonna spin this sucker up. Here we go.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, rapid fire, folks. You want to go?
Sure. I think I've got more books this week.
Oh, do you?
Because I had a chance to read last night.
Oh yeah, you do. Let me go then, because
okay.
I don't have that many more books. Let's see. So we're gonna start off with Magic number 13, aka Magic the Gathering number 13. Creative team is Jed McKay, writer, illustrator Iguara, colors by Ariana Consoni, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. Um, boop. So we have this team of Chandra, Nico, and Garrick, and they're basically learning to work as a team as they're trying to figure out, one, how to get back to Ravnica, and two, coming across a couple of ne'er-do-wells that they've had prior run-in with, and it's during the course of this fight where they're basically kind of learning to kind of gel together. But in the course of this fight, another mystery near the end of it, as the fight kind of subsides, presents itself. So, which means that this is sending them on another side quest to figure out this other mystery in order for them to get back to, that's going to play into their main goal, which is basically to try to get back into Ravnica. So it was a pretty good fun issue. You know, Jed McKay can write some fun quick action stuff. So there was that. Next up is She-Hulk #3. Speaking of She-Hulk and Jack of Hearts, we have the writer Rainbow Rowell, art by Roger Antonio, color artist Rico Renzi, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. Did you read this or no?
I did. Go ahead.
You did. Okay, sweet. The majority of the issue is basically getting readers caught up on who the hell Jack of Hearts is for the most part. Like, we start off with Jen going into the office and talking to Mallory Book, her boss, and come to find out that Awesome Andy is back in the picture, who is another throwback character from an old She-Hulk book in other places, obviously. But they getting to know that character again, and then, like I said, the rest of the issue is pretty much Jen and Jack of Hearts talking about basically his backstory and kind of not necessarily reinventing himself, but like I said, getting people caught up on who he is, which also led to the question, and thankfully got brought up in the latter part of this issue, is, does Jack of Hearts remember Disassembled? Because he talked about, you know, him going into space and blowing up, which happened in an earlier earlier episode issue of the Avengers and I think Children's Crusade, now that I think about it, where that happened. But Jack of Hearts ended up being used in another way after that, which did get brought up in this story. But apparently he doesn't know anything about it. And also with the fact that his powers are seeming to be lessened than what they used to be, and him seeming more human than his power level had them initially. So for folks who didn't know, he's basically half human, half alien, and he had these powers because of XYZ thing that happened in some vat he fell in, like the Joker, and ended up getting powers from it. He and She-Hulk had an issue back in the Avengers because he was talking about siphoning off her powers. They're still trying to talk. They were talking about that kind of stuff, and he's kind of, you know, still feeling kind of a way about that. So Jen's basically trying to help him put things together in the course of this issue, leading to what we don't know, but we also know that they're in. At some point, we assume that this is before the events of Fantastic Four #42. Because I don't know, that's just the way it seems. There's no real, you know, obviously this had to come before that because it wouldn't be to where they are there without some of the stuff that we're starting to get to now. I think that's about it, because like I said, there's pretty much that's pretty much that, unless we want to talk about Sicilian pizza from the native New Yorker here.
I got a kick out of seeing that, though. I was just like, what, you know, like, wait a second, why is Rainbow Rowell talking about like thick slice? That's a Sicilian slice. There's not, you know, that's it.
That. And it mentions that, yeah.
I know, but I'm just, you know, like at first it doesn't say Sicilian. It's talking about thick crust. It's a Sicilian slice.
I thought about you when they said that. It was like, oh no, it's not a New York slice. Jen's not a Jen's not a real New Yorker. She doesn't like the sloppy slice.
You know, I mean, the regular pizza slice has definitely evolved over time because everyone wants to put like a ton of toppings on it, and that seems to be what a lot of the tourists want.
Right.
Whereas most New Yorkers are just like, yo, let me get a regular cheese slice or with sausage or pepperoni,
Right.
maybe mushrooms, and they want to eat it on the go, right?
Right.
And it's things are very very different now in the city when it comes to that. Even in the neighborhood slice joints, it's a little different where you get like you know fried chicken pizza, chicken cutlet pizza,
Oh
like
yeah.
sitting around all day,
Sure.
and that's just like there. It's just like, yeah, it's 350 a slice. I'm like, what the. So, but that's just the old school New Yorker in me. But anyway, is there you have any other books?
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot we're doing rapid.
Strange, right?
Actually, I got another one. Actually, speaking of, because this is a character that shows up in both She-Hulk and Fantastic Four. The Thing #6.
I skimmed this. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So there's the She-Hulk #3, and let me pull up the Thing #6, which is the last issue of this particular miniseries. But apparently, there's another one coming, as we've come to find out. So yeah, the Thing #6, written by Walter Mosley, art by Tom Riley, color artist Jolie Berlaire, letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So, the short straw is we finally found out, which I had to catch up because I forgot. I don't remember if I read the last issue, so I kind of had to go back and read the last issue to see if I remembered reading it, which I had not. So it was good that I did. But basically, the two friends that Ben's going around with, this kid named Bobby and his then girlfriend Amaryllis, are definitely not what they put themselves to be originally. And this story is, by the way, set in the past, so it's basically a new old story as tends to happen more and more lately. So, Death is involved because apparently Death fell in love with Ben.
Not
Doom,
Thanos. That's who Thanos should be going after, huh?
and all right, yeah, it's kind of fickle. And Death is also taking Alicia hostage because we come to find out that Death was also playing her new boyfriend, or her then boyfriend, and that Death was the one that actually was the cause of basically all of this. Of course, Doctor Doom comes into play because his mom's still dead, and that's been a sad thing of this. But she's still dead and she's still in hell. And Ben, with the help of his two friends and some other contrivances, um, basically wins the day. I know there's a story going around that talks about a change to one of the characters, that being of Alicia Masters, but it really wasn't much to it because basically when she was in the Death Realm, whatever, she got her sight back, but once it came back out, she was blind again, so that's really a non-issue. Obviously they weren't going to do anything that was going to change what is still current in the books, so you kind of have to do that kind of stuff. But like I said, at the end of this, we come to find out there is another Ben miniseries that is coming up, apparently with him and the Hulk.
Or at least the first issue is.
Yeah, at least the first issue is, as far as we know. So, but yeah, also I enjoyed this for the most part. It got a little weird there because like what's going on situation, and who are these people? Are they going to have any lasting things going on in the Marvel universe? Don't know, because we know a Watcher had a son, and that was one of the characters, and like I said, the other one ended up being Death. So whether this one of these characters ends up, or whether the Watcher's son or whoever this person was comes up at some point again, I guess we'll find out. But anyway, last book for me is Strange #2, which I believe you also read, right?
I did. Go
Okay,
ahead.
cool, sweet. Bing. Let's see. Written also by Jed McKay. Pencils Marcelo Ferreira. Inks by Tiny Bubbles.
I got a kick out of that. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Don Ho, by the way. That's a reference. Go ask your grandparents about that. Colors by Java Tartaglia and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So yeah, we start off with a fight between Clea and Zombie Thunderstrike. And this other person that apparently we have come to find out is, speaking of Death Sorcerer Supreme, as it's come to be called in this issue. And of course, Clea trying to bring Stephen Strange back is making it her business to kind of get involved after finding out that who this person was. Is trying to find out, is going to find out going forward a little bit more about these affairs, because obviously if Death has picked a Sorcerer Supreme, there's some stuff going on in Death's realm, which kind of makes me wonder if that has anything to do with what happened in the Thing miniseries, but I very much doubt it. We also see the Thunderstrike mace has fled off somewhere, and we did see Thunderstrike's kid at the beginning of this, so I suspect at some point we're probably going to get another Thunderstrike. At some point, we don't need a
Thunderstrike. There's an AC/DC song called Thunderstruck, if you don't know, folks.
Actually, it's kind of funny you said that, because like when I think it was Zombie Thunderstrike had said that, I thought about that song, and I don't even know how I even knew that song.
It's from maybe Iron Man?
No,
because Favreau laced Iron Man with AC/DC left and right. So
yeah, but that's Iron Man, not necessarily a Thunderstrike song, but I don't know, maybe, who knows?
No, but it's just the word, you know.
I know.
Thunderstrike.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that could very well be the case, but I'm not even entirely sure. So at any case, though, yeah, like I said, that's pretty much the deal with that whole issue. So we got Clea going forward to basically meddle in Death's affairs going forward. I think there's something else I'm missing, but I can't remember. But that's pretty much that. And that is it for me.
All right, so let me jump in with my books. First off is Batman number 122. It's written by Joshua Williamson, with art by Howard Porter, colors by Tomo Mori, and letters by Clayton Cowles, not from VC when he's working for DC. Oh, I made a rhyme. So, in this issue, we are following up on Shadow War, and this is the first, I believe, crossover issue with Shadow War, and we are seeing the ramifications in this issue of the events of that first, what was it, the Alpha issue of Shadow War?
Yes. Oh, right. I forgot. I need to read this then. Yes.
Right. Because I know that Roddykat read that. I did not, but this issue serves to get us very quickly up to speed on what happened, and the absolute fallout of what happened in that issue starts off in this issue as the forces that are looking to capitalize on the events of that issue, as well as investigate the events of that issue, start to move forward and move into place in this Batman issue. So it's definitely something, if you are looking to keep up with Shadow War, this is an issue I think you should read. So I think this is something that Roddykat should read. I will warn, though, that Howard Porter's art, and I talked about him previously, that he had to deal with I believe a hand injury and had to reteach himself how to draw. I mistakenly thought that it was a much more like serious health issue, but and I remember correcting myself when we last talked about it, but his art here has progressed to the kind of distracting. Like, there's a couple of little stylistic choices that he makes that make the art a little distracting for me. This is a personal taste thing, but some people may like it. But as I said earlier, if you're looking to keep up with the Shadow War story, you may have to read this book. Next up is Devil's Reign number 6 of 6. This is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Marco Cacchetto, colors by Marcio Meniz, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So this is finally the last issue of this Daredevil-centric crossover and miniseries. Some of the things that have come about as a part of this series probably will have lasting ramifications moving forward, at least temporarily lasting, as funny as that sounds. But it definitely will reverberate through the pages of the comics of the Marvel Universe. I don't want to spoil everything. I think that the Roddykat will probably skim this issue and probably get everything he needs out of this entire limited series. It's kind of disappointing to me, but at the same time, there's only so much that I can expect for like kind of ending like a certain era in the Marvel comics, at least the New York City centric Marvel comics, and this issue definitely starts the resetting of a new status quo for the New York City area in the Marvel Comics universe in the 616. So, I've been following Zdarsky's Daredevil for a while. This definitely felt, I don't know, maybe it's the Ben Reilly of it all, because this wraps with Ben Reilly with Ben Reilly still playing the Beyond Spider-Man role. Because of the timing of books being what they are. But I always felt, just kind of like, it was okay. But I definitely am interested in seeing how things progress forward, especially with the direction that they want to take Daredevil and Elektra going forward, and how that's going to play with some of the other recent announcements that Marvel has made with other street level characters.
Yeah,
Next up,
I think I heard about one in particular, so I'm kind of curious about how that comes into play.
Gotcha. Next up is Marauders #1. I'm surprised that Roddykat did not read this.
Yeah, I didn't get around to it, but I plan to.
Right, so I'm not going to spoil it. It's written by Steve Orlando with art by Eleonora Carlini, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Ariana Maher. So this is a brand new #1, and I don't think I'm going to keep up with this book. I'm not going to put it on my physical pull list. Carlini's art doesn't do much for me. The story is interesting, though. Definitely has an interesting premise that launches the Marauders into space. And since they are X-Men and they're launching into space, they are going to be dealing with some rather familiar characters that are connected to the X-Men from space. This is not the first time we've seen the Marauders in space. If you recall, there was an issue in the most recent volume of Marauders, the prior volume of Marauders, that had them on a very classic-looking flying saucer. So I guess that was kind of the precursor to this, to kind of redirecting the Marauders into space, since the actual physical yacht that they were using as the original Marauder was destroyed. I want to say in the pages of, it wasn't in the pages of Marauders. It was destroyed in the pages of another book.
I believe so, but they ended up getting another one. So
is that what ended up happening? Another boat?
Yeah.
Or actually, they have another one, but now, it's now a spaceship.
Right.
So, but in any event, what we have here is the start of a new adventure in space with a new crew of Marauders, and one of the members of this new crew is someone you do not expect, and they spend a big chunk of this issue explaining why this character is there.
Okay.
Next up is, all right, so did you talk about Strange #2?
Yes.
Okay. So you did Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Strange. X-Force #27 is written by Benjamin Percy with art by Robert Gill, colors by Guru EFX, and letters by our favorite lettering python, VC's Joe Caramagna. I don't even have to introduce him anymore. I just have to say, I don't have to say his whole name. I just have to say our favorite lettering python, and you know who I'm referring to. So this issue picks up, I like this issue for several reasons. One, it picks up essentially where we leave off, pre 10 Lives and 10 Deaths of Wolverine. But it also picks up in the aftermath of 10 Lives and 10 Deaths of Wolverine, dealing with the ramifications and the fallout from that storyline, as well as what had been happening in the X-Force book prior to that, of that mini event. So this is very effective, and it's obviously written by Benjamin Percy, so he has a very good grasp on the story, right? It is a very effective way of continuing the plots that have been either left dangling as a result of 10 Lives and 10 Deaths, and, you know, carrying forward the events of 10 Lives and 10 Deaths into the book, into the pages of X-Force proper. And just, you know, maintaining that balance is, I think Percy does a very good job at maintaining that balance in this book. So it proves to be a very effective read. It will probably leave people a little in the dark if you haven't been keeping up with all of that. But if you have, it pays off, and, you know, it moves the story forward. Last but not least is X-Men Red #1. This is written by Al Ewing with art by Stefano Caselli, colors by Federico Blee, and letters by VC's Ariana Maher. So you can tell that this is an X book that has a little bit of push behind it, because they assigned the art as, you know, they assigned the artist Stefano Caselli to it. That's not a small thing. You can sometimes tell which books are going to get a little bit of a push based on the artist that has been assigned to the book, right? Al Ewing, you know, he's been mostly hit. Every once in a while, it's a little bit of like a foul tip, maybe not a miss, right? I'm obviously going to bring baseball vernacular into my commentary here. You know, it is opening day. After all, the Metsies are up right now. So, you know, you can tell that this book is going to get a little bit of a push. It is centered on the events of, you know, I guess the political machinations on Araco. You know, the other half of Krakoa, as it were. You know, the planet that the X-Men either birthed or resurrected or colonized, you know, basically, you know, through the colonization of Mars, and, you know, all of the things that come about as Storm has, you know, been appointed regent of Araco, and all of the power plays that are going on there. And there is an effort here to create a group of heroes, as it were, for Araco, but it doesn't play out the way you think it will. Also, there are some storylines, some character reveals that play out in other books that you see here. Not, you know, like, you have to know about that particular character reveal or that characterization reveal, that story reveal beforehand, to understand that there are machinations, under machinations, behind smoke screens, and some characters sense that there's something amiss, and that is refreshing, and it makes you remember that, if you know, since we do read a lot of comics here on the Comic Book Chronicles, it makes you remember what happened and what they're referring to. But if you're unfamiliar with it, it'll make you go search for that information. So, yeah, that is some effective storytelling by Al Ewing. But all in all, it was an interesting book. I probably will keep up reading it. I don't know if I'm going to pull it just yet, but it's going to be interesting. I don't particularly care about Araco. I'll be honest. I don't really care about the Araco mutants. You know, they're not all that appealing to me. You know, coming out of Ten of Swords, you know, they've just been sort of there as like kind of like the extension of the whole Krakoan story. But all in all, it gives the X-Men a different group of characters to play off of. So I understand why they're being kept around, and, you know, they're obviously going to be the central part of this X-Men Red story. So, you know, it's okay. It's not, you know, if you're into the whole Krakoan storyline, you know, and the extension of it here on Mars, aka Araco, then, you know, have at it. This might be the book for you. And that's it for me.
Does any of it play off of, well, I guess two questions. Does any of it play off that Immortal story from last week?
Well, they're all interconnected, especially like the main books, and I would call Immortal one of the main books now because X-Men is like would be like the flagship, right? Immortal would be like the secondary book. This may well prove to be like the third book in that kind of group because they've already relaunched Marauders, right? X-Force is kind of on that same level with X-Men Red. Where they're kind of like secondary / tertiary to the main story, but they're important enough that you should keep up with them. So that's what I would say. I would say Immortal is probably a little bit more important than Red, but probably just as important as X-Force. I may be selling X-Force short. I think X-Force is probably just as important as Immortal.
I got you. Okay. And I know
it's a different way of looking at the X books as a group. Right. Like think about the X-Men what did they call it? Was it like the New Genesis? Oh, Mutant Genesis. Like the 90s, right? With Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld. Right? Ugh. And Wiles Portacio. Well, I mean, that was like kind of the golden age of like my high school X-Men reading, right?
Right.
And if you think about it, like the flagship X-Men book was probably no longer Uncanny, even though that was the longest running book, right? Because Uncanny had Lobdell on script with Wiles Portacio on art, whereas Claremont, at least for the first 3 issues, had Claremont and Jim Lee on it, right? So just for those first 3 issues, Uncanny was no longer the flagship. I think X-Men was, right? Gotcha. Okay. And then you had X-Force being like the New Mutant style book, because they're off on their own with Cable, doing their own thing. And X-Factor was the government mutant group because under Valerie Cooper with Havoc and Polaris and Strong Guy, etc., and Multiple Man, right? Okay. So those were like the kind of like the core 4 X books, right? And they each had like a role to play. Where so if you think about it here, like the core X-Men books, each have their own role to play in their own area of the current Krakoan infrastructure to study and to describe and to tell stories about.
Gotcha. Okay, I was going to ask about the X-Force annual, but since you hadn't read it, neither have
I. I skimmed it. Like I don't remember anything about it. I literally just kind of flipped through it.
Gotcha. Clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week are incoming.
Didn't get anything from our other hosts, so it's just us.
Yeah, I mean, I had a decent couple of reads this week. Nothing that really jumped out to me. I will tell you that my candidates are Black Widow number 15 because it was a surprising. Did we talk about that? It's the end of this run.
Yeah, we did. We mentioned.
Okay. It's the surprising end of this run. I was definitely surprised to see that it was over with this issue because I was enjoying this book a lot, and I'm sad to see it, no longer be around. I hope that Kelly Thompson brings back Black Widow the same way that, creators are able to bring back Carol Danvers over several runs over the last several years. Mm-hmm. So that's my hope because, I really enjoyed her take on Black Widow. It's between that. I actually liked Moonlight number 10 because I liked that McKay was moving the story forward.
Right.
And tied things together, kind of, explaining to us what the heck is going on with this character and why, this character is acting the way they're acting. And finally, and you probably heard, you can definitely figure from kind of like my effusive praise of X-Force number 27. I really liked how Ben Percy kind of picked up a lot of the pieces from the 10 Lives and 10 Deaths of Wolverine and the previous stories in X-Force and brought them all forward into this issue and really set the stage for what comes next. So those are my top 3 books this week, and I'm kind of stuck deciding between them. What do you have?
I mean, the ones I have between me are Fantastic Four number 42 because like that was a whole lot. I'm like yeah, that was just an interestingly laid out book for what happened in it. Magic
Right,
number
which is
13.
which is why I handed it off to you. I'm just like, you know what, Roddycat's going to talk about this because it takes a lot of time to like, it takes a lot of time in the book as it kind of spans several pages. It's a one panel per page,
Right.
describing what's happening.
Right. Also, Magic number 13 was pretty fun, which that's been a consistently fun book. You know, Jed McKay. You know, he writes some fun books. What can I say? And probably She-Hulk number 3 would probably be my third. Even though there was no like real action in it, but it was like it was a nice little, you know, like it caught some folks up to speed on certain things. Plus that pizza part, you know, me being I love pizza, so you know, I'm always gonna be like thumbs up for pizza, for some good pizza banter. Which is a weird reason to like a book, but hey, I'm strange like that. Strange also was alright, but you know that was that was what it was. Wait, I don't even think I put it in here. Oh shoot. Crap. So I'm guessing I think I might just go ahead and give it to
I was going to say, if you need time to decide, I think I'm going to get off the pot, as it were.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to go with Black Widow number 15, but X-Force number 27 was really strong to me. I just enjoyed Black Widow number 15 because even though it was a disappointing end, I just enjoyed the journey, and I liked how I liked where the group of characters kind of end up in that book. Black Widow number 15.
Yeah, part of it, like I said, it was kind of a bummer by the way they just magically fixed that one thing that happened. But you kind of expected something like that was going to be the case because that's kind of how things turn out. Like, you know, I kind of expected that to go the way they were hinting in the beginning of that issue. So that's why it was kind of a slight bummer the way that they didn't. But so you said Black Widow number 15. I mean, but also that being said, I also hate seeing that book go because it was a pretty good book. Like
that's kind of why that's kind of why I picked it too. I was like, yeah, you know, it's kind of like the swan song. I'm like, let me pick that, you know, because X-Force number 27 was pretty strong.
Right. So yeah, I guess I'll go with I know actually Fantastic Four number 42 in Magic, but so I'll go with Fantastic Four number 42 actually.
That works.
Yeah. So then that, like I said, that. I mean, it wasn't like balls out amazing, but it was pretty. It was interesting the way they set stuff off, the way they did, how they did, with what we thought, you know, with what we knew was going to happen, or we thought we knew what was going to happen, and not. So, all right, folks. That being said, and like I said, we didn't get anything from our other co-hosts, so that's it. We're going to go into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world-famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise such as their custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off. You know, Funkos are not cheap. You can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. That's SHOP10. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Funkos aren't that expensive either. So,
well, I mean, some of them can be, especially the larger size ones or the limited edition ones.
True.
You know, like the standard regular Funko Pops, you know, they're not that expensive, but especially if they're part of a set, like say you're trying to put together the A Team, you know, like I had to buy 4 at once. Say you're trying to put together the Funko Pop group of TLC, you know, rest in peace Left Eye, right?
Yeah, 12 to
That's
20.
3. Yeah, that's, you know, that's 3 right there that you have to get. You know, I definitely have on my list putting the Run DMC together. You know, shout out, rest in peace to Jam Master Jay.
Oh, wait, do I have that one? I think I have everything. I think I have all of them but J's. Or actually, I might have J's. I think I do have all of them. And speaking of 18 ones, but you know what? We're getting off subject because that was because you just reminded me. You just reminded me of the 18 van that that Funko had, and
they did, and I almost bought it. I almost bought it.
Me too.
I was so close. I got all of the characters in the A Team, and I almost bought the van. I was like, do I really need this? That was one of those times. I was like, do I really need this?
And one of the comic shops was closing here, and I was like, damn it! If they still had that joke, I could have got it for less than what it was if I had caught it in time. But anyway, so cinematic news, folks. That's Talk Corners for
as we kind of what we'll call it. There's a commercial. Isn't there a commercial out that Ewan McGregor's in? He's like, you know, it's like a travel commercial.
Yes.
And he's talking about we don't talk about the regrets of not buying things.
Yeah.
We talk about the regrets about not going places. I'm like, wrong.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not talking to the collectors, are you? You know?
Indeed. But cinematic news, as we start off with every week, the Umbrella Academy renames Elliot Page's character in season 3. So, Elliot Page's character is going to get a new name, which is Victor Hargreaves is the new name for the character. No further details were given about the name change, but according to this article, it opens up exciting possibilities for the 3rd season, which I've never seen any bit of Umbrella Academy. So
you should. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with the comics at all, and I actually appreciate that. You know, like I'm just like going into the show, like, you know what, entertain me. And it's been pretty good.
Okay, cool. Next up.
Good Lord, Spider-Man spinoff, Madam Web. We can't stop Sony, no matter what they do. Launches its social media sites. This article is written by our very own @TimDog98. Madam Web, the next Marvel hero from Sony Pictures' Spider-Man universe of characters, Lord, has joined the list of verified accounts on social media. Sony has not only found success with Spider-Man, but also with the heroes. Come on, you're overstating things here, Tim. That's a little bit of hyperbole. Seriously. But this is also this article is written before the travesty that is Morbius actually hit theaters.
You know, I'm sure, you know, you got to make it pop. So
right. But in any event, the Madam Web official Twitter and Instagram accounts have hit the the interwebs as it were.
Right. Like I'm not. Yeah. Like I agree on the hyperbole, but like a lot of these articles do that, and it's like really, it's a little much. Calm down.
You know, and it's a shame because, you know, I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Dakota Johnson's acting, and Jared Leto is Jared Leto. You know, he's definitely hit or miss for me.
Right.
But it's a shame that they're getting some of these, you know, name actors, and they're just going to waste in the Sony Spider-Man universe. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, the MCU could always bring them back as a different character. You know, like Chris Evans, and like really hit it out of the park. But, you know, it's just a shame.
Yeah. We'll see. But speaking of more Madam Web news, Euphoria star breaks silence on mysterious Madam Web role. So Euphoria's Sydney Sweeney opened up about her preparation for her mystery Madam Web role. Quote unquote, I've been ordering a bunch of comic books, Sweeney said in an interview with Variety. There's a lot to learn. It's Madam Web. There's really not that totally much, but sure. Okay. There's a lot to learn, but I've always been a really big fan of all of the Marvel and Sony Universe movies. I've grown up watching them, and I've been engulfed in the entire world my entire life. She's not that old, so that's not really saying that much. So being a part to be
Yeah, I was about to say, was she of age when Iron Man 1 came out? I don't think so. Like of age to like actually understand it.
I don't know because
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think she's like early 20s, if that. So, yeah, go figure. But so yeah, but she says so being able to be a part of this is such an incredible thing, basically. Then that's pretty much that. I'm kind of curious about like this is for like an unnecessary new movie, but I'm kind of wondering if they're going to the more recent version of Madam Web than the more classic version
with Julia Carpenter.
Yeah,
maybe.
I feel like that might be where they're going with that, especially with a couple of the names. So anyway,
maybe. Next up, Black Panther VFX artist admits the final battle in the Black Panther movie fell short. Ouch. So he says that the effects used for the film's final battle suffered due to Marvel's severe time constraints, not money, but time. So in an interview with Inverse, VFX artist Todd Sheridan Perry explained that VFX vendors often do not have enough time to complete the work assigned to them, causing VFX shots and effects to look janky and unrealistic. It falls squarely on the shoulders of studios that set a release date and then work backward from there. He said, the time just isn't enough to live up to the ambition of the project. We understand.
Yeah, and it did kind of show. Let's be honest. Like,
especially with the rhinos.
Mm-hmm. So it makes sense. And like, why is this coming out? Well, I mean, the second one's coming out, so I guess that's another reason why this is probably also coming out. But hey, you know what? Good on them for being like, yeah, you know what? It is what it was. So
yeah, take responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Doctor Strange 2 breaks Fandango's first day ticket sales records in 2022. So yeah, this past Wednesday, as of this recording, the tickets for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness have gone on sale, and I do know a couple of people, including our own Agent 70, who has gone the way of gotten tickets.
Yes, it is early to talk about it. It is a little bit less than a month away now, but we are going to be in movie protocol in like 3 weeks when Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness drops, because I will definitely be in that theater opening night.
I likely will not, because I am still on COVID protocol. So,
hey, listen. We may all be on COVID protocol at that point. You know, we've gone maskless in theaters now. It's not required anymore here in New York City, but with cases ticking up, we don't know, everything is fluid. The entire situation is fluid, folks. Take care of yourselves. We try to take care of others and, while taking care of ourselves, that is the hope. But, I probably will be showing up with a mask on in the theater, just to stay safe.
Yeah. Now, and things could change, because regardless, one way or another, we are still going on movie protocol. Or I might end up doing a show by myself. We'll see how that works out. If we don't go full protocol,
right?
But basically, so back to the article. During the first 24 hours, the sequel sold more tickets than any other film this year, and the Fandango website saw a huge number of fans reserve their seats. It says Showtime sold out fast. I kind of want to go look now, because I know the first couple of days are definitely gone. But
yeah, because this is definitely, what's funny about this is that it's definitely people looking to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
They absolutely want to get in there that first weekend and just avoid spoilers as best as they can. It's funny how where we've come, how far we've come.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it says here that going after listing off a couple of other movies that have premiered this year, including The Batman, and the original worldwide sales for the first Doctor Strange movie. It says here that basically it just goes on to say that, hey, Fandango and sales did pretty good. It says here, since it was the best pre-sale day, for Fandango since Spider-Man No Way Home, which is saying like which is saying something, because that movie also sold a bunch of tickets pre-sale. So there you go, folks. May 6th, that's when Doctor Strange 2 is coming out, and movie protocol, we will remind you thusly closer. Next.
All right, so for fans of the Daredevil Netflix show, which is now on Disney Plus, and they're doing their best to eradicate any evidence that it was ever affiliated with Netflix on the shows. That's the information I have. That's a strike. Come on up. Anyway, Marvel has confirmed that Daredevil is actually MCU canon. So, interestingly, in an update to this article, Marvel has removed the paragraph about Matt Murdock's appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home from his live-action biography detailing his television history, but the original story is found in full on this webpage that Roddykat is showing you. But yeah, essentially it's canon. I think they're looking to, continue to kind of revamp the websites and the way these things are all connected. This is probably going to be a fluid situation moving forward as people try to figure out how best to write this and to describe it online as succinctly and as clearly as possible. Whether or not that's possible, I don't know.
Yeah, who's to say? But regardless, canon, and I would like to believe that some of the other characters are soon to follow. Speaking of, though, Disney Plus removes Stan Lee tribute from The Punisher, apparently. So it says here that at the time of the basically there was a dedication to Stan Lee at the end of the season 2 finale of The Punisher that has since been removed from it on Disney Plus, according to comicbook.com. And it says here the service has made similar cuts to Luke Cage, getting rid of a memorial to Reggie Cathy, who played Luke Cage's father. And sounds like some other cuts they've oh wait, despite making these changes, the platform apparently left the dedication to Leash shown at the end of Jessica Jones season 3 intact, which again I forgot that I didn't know there was even a Jessica Jones season 3.
I don't think I watched it.
Yeah, I still haven't watched 2, and I knew that was a thing. Disney and Marvel Studios have yet to offer a formal explanation regarding the decision to omit the tributes to Lee and Kathy from Punisher and Luke Cage, respectively. So, go figure. Next up,
The Mandalorians. Carl Weathers has confirmed that season 3 has wrapped filming. So, writing on Twitter, the Grief Karga actor retweeted a post with an image of an embroidery hoop depicting the Din Djarin's iconic helmet mashed up with the number 3. And he says, "And what a season of wonderfulness," he writes. Okay. That's cool.
Partly because I'm sure because he's not only acting, but directed an episode or 2, I'm sure.
Listen, Carl Weathers is still, he's still cashing them checks. Good for him.
No doubt. Hey, good on him. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, So we still don't know when it's coming, but since they're finished wrapping, we should have a date at some time in the next few months, I would imagine. Probably after whatever happens with that Andor thing. Definitely after Obi-Wan, for certain. Anywho, on the other side of the Star Wars, Chris Pine says Star Trek shouldn't compete with Marvel's billion-dollar movies, quote unquote. So, says here that he suggested that Star Trek should focus on something different outside of making billion-dollar franchises. He says, we always tried to get the huge international market, Pine told Deadline. It was always about making the $1 billion. It was always this $1 billion mark because Marvel was making $1 billion. We struggled with it because Star Trek, for whatever reason, its core audience is rabid, as you know. To get these people that are interested, that maybe are Star Wars fans or think Trek is not cool or whatever, proven, we've definitely done a good job of it, but not the $1 billion kind of job that they want. And he basically said that he goes on to say that, hey, this is not Star Trek is not Marvel, and it shouldn't be. Appeal to the fans, and if other folks come along for the ride, then so be it. Which, you know what? I agree with him. Stop trying to make Star Trek what it's not. There are way too many people are trying it, and Star Trek is great on its own, personally speaking. Next up, Just don't.
I mean, I'm just not that big a Star Trek fan.
Right.
Like it's just, it was definitely part of my fandom growing up, but just not that big. And I was not that big a TOS fan.
Right.
Definitely a Next Generation guy and a Deep Space Nine guy. So,
Sure.
but, it's, I was never, I was never that, let's say, enticed to go to the movie theater by Star Trek.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I certainly have for a couple of them, especially the older ones. Maybe not the Kelvin timeline ones, but definitely, those the Kelvin ones.
What I liked about the first Kelvin one is that it was an effective movie for a lot of people. Like, it was so broad.
Yes.
Like, the appeal to it was so broad. And obviously the ones that came after, had their own problems, but I like the first one more than the other two.
Right. They were basically kind of sort of rehashing. Well, I mean, to be fair, you
previous movies and stories. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So, so there was that. Even with that second one, when they were like, "No, it's not this thing. It's totally not thing."
Of course it was. Exactly.
So, but regardless, like I said,
next
I like how Pine's thinking on this one. Something else I was gonna say about that, but I don't remember what it was. So, moving right along.
Next up, 3 character promo spots for Star Trek: Strange New Worlds focus on Uhura, La'an, and Ortegas. So these are different characters in the Strange New World series. The first trailer focuses on Cadet Nyota Uhura, played by Celia Rose Gooding. The second spotlights Lieutenant La'an Noonien Singh, played by Christina Chong. And the third features Lieutenant Erica Ortegas, played by Melissa Navia. Okay. These are just a few of the characters that will join Captain Pike, played by Anson Mount, Spock, played by Ethan Peck, and Number One, played by Rebecca Romaine, no longer Stamos, as they embark on the adventures of the USS Enterprise. Okay.
Yeah, this is a weird one for me, but also I did not know about the Noonien Singh thing, because that's also a thing that's in Star Trek Picard that's coming up. Not Noonien Singh, but another version of that family, or another part of that family. So that's interesting because
they got to bring the con of it all in,
Right. And that's why which is what I was saying when I was talking about. I didn't talk about Picard this week, but it's like, yeah, they're putting a lot into Star Trek Picard, including that stuff. But yeah, this is basically pre-TOS, or I guess TOS going into TOS or something, which is kind of weird in itself. But that's a whole nother conversation for not right now. Speaking of Star Trek Picard, though, season 3 has been announced. And it brings back the cast, or a lot of the cast from TNG, in a teaser trailer. So we got LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Jonathan Frakes, who's already had shown up in Star Trek Picard anyway, Gates McFadden, well, before and in front of and behind the scenes, Marina Sirtis, and Brent Spiner, also is still in Star Trek Picard. So that's something. But yeah, they're all coming back into the 3rd season. There was a teaser trailer announcement on First Contact Day, which was April 5th. And yeah, and there's also a reference to the First Contact movie, of which they were all in. So kind of curious. So yeah, if you have not seen that teaser trailer, which I have not, but you can go check it out at your leisure. Next.
That's interesting that was announced in a teaser video. I had just seen in the news. I did not know that's how they announced it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So, in news that probably makes some people giggle with glee, the WB quote pauses unquote Flash star Ezra Miller's DCEU future due to his recent behavior. They could have paused it after they cast him, but you know what? What are you going to do? So the executives at Warner Brothers are apparently scrambling in the wake of Ezra Miller's arrest as they attempt to decide the Flash star's future. He's also part of the upcoming Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, which is also a WB production.
Mm-hmm.
And, basically he may not have a future in the DCEU or the Wizarding World as Warner Brothers executives meet over the actor's repeated violent behavior. Rolling Stone is reporting that WB execs held an emergency meeting on March 30th to discuss the recent arrest of Miller and their repeated problematic actions. According to the outlet's sources, the consensus in the room was to hit pause on any future projects involving Miller, including possible appearances in the DC cinematic universe. The last-minute meeting followed a pair of incidents while the actor was in Hawaii that we talked about last week. You know what? You reap what you sow.
Yeah, but probably won't. I have the strange feeling. Should, but probably won't. I know there's been other articles saying that Grant Gustin, who plays the TV version of Flash, should be the one to replace. Who actually, some people have been saying that all along, but yeah, should replace him as the Flash in this.
Right. The problem, I think, the only problem with that is I think a lot of longtime comic readers don't see him as Barry Allen either. Comic readers, you know, not TV show watchers.
Sure.
You know, because he doesn't strike the most heroic look.
He's all right. I mean, as opposed to as Romerla, who I don't think.
Right. That's that. I mean, you know, they're both. You know, I hate to say this, and the commentary I read was that they both kind of strike a better Peter Parker than Barry Allen.
Ooh,
no, just physically.
No, I get that, but ooh.
Oh, charge the mound! What the hell?
All right, moving right along. A new Orphan Black series is in the work at AMC. Per Hollywood Reporter, AMC Networks has stabbed Fear the Walking Dead supervising producer Anna Fishko to write and showrun Orphan Black Echoes, a new series set in the near future, of the original. The new show, which is set to be executive produced and directed by John Fawcett, will follow the lives of a new group of women who gradually begin to realize how deeply interconnected their origins are, despite the fact that none of them know each other. Given how the original Orphan Black came to a close, it's unclear whether Echoes will see Tatiana Maslany return. Huh?
Just, you know, I'm still watching baseball. Move on.
It's unclear whether Echoes will see Tatiana Maslany return to reprise any of her core Clone Club roles, or one of the dozen other letter clones that are still living out in the world by the series finale. Spoiler alert, I guess. But regardless, Orphan Black Echoes doesn't have a firm release date, but AMC expects the series to premiere sometime in 2023. I've heard great things about Orphan Black, and I'm going to watch a couple of episodes. But I've been meaning to rectify that. So, cool. Next up. I believe you're muted.
I muted myself, you know, to spare all you guys my my baseball commentary. So, you know, Roddykat just like sports ball. I'm like, oh, come on, man. We can be, you know, we can have diverse interests here on the Comic Book Chronicles.
I mean, not the point, but while we're viewing the show.
Of course, while we're viewing the show, we are absolutely multitasking. So, get in the gate. Pluto TV launches 24/7 streaming channel that is all, good Lord, is all Stargate all the time. From the Roland Emmerich film to the long-running television spin-offs, this channel has it all. Goodness gracious. Pluto TV has decided to fire up the Stargate, walk through the ensuing portal, and never look back. As of Friday, April 1st, the online television service is offering an entire channel devoted to the sci-fi franchise Stargate. From the 1994 Roland Emmerich film to the three, and again, hyperbole, beloved spin-off TV series. All of it streaming for 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Hey,
okay.
Stargate Atlantis was all right.
Never watched a second of any of these shows. Sorry, folks.
So I can attest to this, and I know the date of this article might sound kind of fishy, but no, it is actually true because I have been watching this particular channel. I've watched Star Trek the movie a couple of times, Stargate the movie a couple of times, even though I've seen it multiple times in passing, and a bunch of episodes of SG-1 and actually a couple of episodes of Universe. I hadn't seen much Atlantis, but definitely I did also. So yeah, that thing is out there if you like Stargate. To which I do. The SG-1 was a good series. Now we go over into the anime corner.
Uh-oh, it's the anime corner. It's the anime corner.
Twitch. Feel like Agent 70 should take this one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, shout out to everyone that watched the final episode that was supposed to be quote unquote final this past Sunday, right? So, after the broadcast of the final episode of Attack on Titan final season part 2 on Japanese TV, the official Twitter account for the franchise announced that the TV anime will continue with Attack on Titan final season part 3, which they title Attack on Titan the final season final arc. Goodness gracious.
That's funny.
A teaser trailer and visual was released for the continuing conclusion to the adaptation of Hajime Isayama's manga. So yeah, the way they ended it was wild because it was to be continued. And if there's something that I am quickly learning about anime adaptations of manga, is that they definitely take a lot of time to produce.
Mm-hmm.
And they can and fans can go more than a year, more than 2 years, more than 3 years between seasons because they're simply waiting on various factors to coalesce so that their favorite anime will receive that next installment to, you know, continue or finish the story. You know, I'm speaking specifically in my case to Haikyuu, which, you know, I caught up with over the course of the pandemic, and now I'm eagerly waiting the next season. And people have been waiting for that season for a long, long time, and they still haven't announced it. And they're supposed to announce it like during like the 10th anniversary year, which is this year, and they still haven't talked about it. But you know, it's April, but it feels like it's been a long time since that initial announcement. I believe it was this past fall. Yeah. So,
spring anime season's coming. I suspect in the next month or two, we'll probably hear something about the winter fall season, and maybe hearing a little bit more news about that.
Right. And no, I was about to say that the Attack on Titan stuff.
Yeah.
Did they talk about when it's supposed to come out? Oh no, 2023.
Yeah. Which
2023. So we're definitely going into next year.
Yeah, which Attack on Titan's been doing for the last couple of years. I mean, as Agent 70 said, yeah, like there have been factors because of this, because this is not a normal thing to happen in anime to where stuff gets broken apart. In fact, that's a more recent thing, especially with COVID stuff. Whether that's a factor of it, more so of a factor of it, or, you know, maybe other factors, probably has more to do with COVID than not. But at the same time,
right.
Attack on Titan is a big joint, so they can milk this a little bit more because they know people are raring to watch.
Right. And what's funny is that go ahead.
No,
finish
I'm
up.
done.
I was just gonna say what's funny is that a lot of people were speculating that it was going to be a movie announcement.
Oh, okay.
And I think part of the disappointment was that we were going to be, you know, strung along even more now, you know, with episode after episode, as opposed to kind of going in and watching a finale movie.
Right.
So.
Yeah,
but
I did see a couple of people after that episode ended. It was like, yeah, I knew they were going to do this, which I don't know if that's actually true, but it stands a reason to where it was probably more of a reason to believe that something like this would happen more than that. I feel like you even probably had an idea of it after what we talked about it last week or a week or so ago.
Right. I think that the majority of the people in my watch party were anticipating movie.
Right.
Even I was leaning towards movie. So I was a little surprised that they were talking about more episodes.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, who's to say there won't be a movie though?
Right. But at the same time, there aren't very many issues of the manga left to adapt.
Right. So,
you know, I think, you know, the members of my watch party who are up to date on the manga say that, you know, there probably isn't that much left. You know, they'll probably string it out to probably like 12 to 20 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somewhere in there.
That would make sense. You know, that would be a whole season-ish, half a season at the very most. So
exactly. You know, it's reminiscent of what they did with Demon Slayer recently. So
right. So hopefully that doesn't become a practice, but you know, COVID's still what it is, and they're still trying to figure things out.
Are you up on Demon Slayer?
Oh yeah, I've been finished that and the movie and
All
everything.
right.
So I'm just waiting for the next season. We're going to transition over into the comic book news, but still kind of stay in the anime store corner.
You want me to take this one?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I thought you were gonna do the sound thing.
Oh, you mean the sound effect? Oh, I was about to say because I had played the anime corner, I got thrown off. So
Yeah.
I will
do it.
find a good transition.
So yeah. But yeah, I'll take this one. Berserk's final volume English release date announced. So Dark Horse announced through Crunchyroll that it will release volume 41 of Kentaro Miura's genre-defining, I guess, epic to comic book stores on November 9th, with a rider release to bookstores on November 22nd. The final volume of the series will be released in a special trade paperback format, which will include two-sided full-color insert. The volume will have an MSRP of $14.99. So I know a lot of people who like Berserk, both the manga and the anime. I have never watched it, or I never watched.
I watched the new version by accident. I meant to watch the old version, like the previous volume.
Right.
So I watched the second volume, like not all the way through, but I was like, wait, I meant to watch the original, the original story. So, because it's, I think it's relatively long running.
It's lengthy. It's not like One Piece or Bleach, but yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, relatively. I think those are ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think One Piece is ridiculous. But in any event, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's more like for folks in the know, like Full Metal Alchemist, like that's like 50 something. Like I know it's a lot, but it's not like lengthy. So yeah. Did you by chance enjoy
Berserk?
Yeah.
It was weird. But I'm new to this, so I'm definitely ready to absorb and take in different styles of anime.
Right. Gotcha. Well, and that's it for the anime corner. So now we'll go properly into the comic book news with some toy news.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, toy news.
Oh, well, yeah, just a little bit. Richard E. Grant's classic Loki brings glorious purpose to Hot Toys. It's now available for pre-order. A new Hot Toy figure that captures the likeness of actor Richard E. Grant's classic Loki from the Disney Plus series Loki. So this is set to release in mid-2023. It's a Sideshow collectible figure. I'm looking for the price. That's actually a decent likeness. I like that it's like a big grinning smile. It stands approximately 12.2 inches tall, has 30 points of articulation with interchangeable faces and interchangeable hands. Looking for the price because the pre-order is live. I'm scrolling, folks. Fans can now pre-order classic Loki for $285, with the figure expected to release between April and September 2023.
Wait, and it looks like, is this? Yeah, I mean, Hot Toys is to be expected. It looks like it comes with alligator Loki and Frog Thor in a jar as accoutrement.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have these accessories here.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty good, and a stand. So that's pretty good. But again, as we said before, Hot Toys kind of expensive, but you get what you pay for. Because they're quite detailed, as you said. Restoration Games reveals unmatched Marvel Redemption Row. So this is a board game, looks like. In fact, a miniatures board game to be released into retail. Actually, looks like it's almost going to be out in a couple of days. April 20th. Not a couple of days, a couple of weeks, I guess. I read that it's the 10th. April 20th, 2022, it says here that Redemption Row features 3 of Marvel's most tormented heroes, Moon Knight, Ghost Rider, and Luke Cage. I don't know if Luke Cage is all that tormented, but okay, sure.
I mean, he has been in the past, maybe not recently though.
I guess, but basically it goes into looks like the battle math is set at the raft, and it comes with game pieces and all kind of stuff, and it's going to retail for $50, $49.95 to be specific. If you're into miniature board games. Next up,
Marvel Select Moon Knight Disney exclusive figure pre-orders are now live. So this is not exactly what you're expecting if you're looking for a Disney Plus version of Moon Knight. Rather, it is Marvel Select style Moon Knight, which is kind of comic book based and kind of not. It's definitely in the middle here. And it's a 7-inch tall figure with 16 points of articulation. Looking for a price. Don't see one.
Yeah, the Marvel Select ones are not as.
Oh, $29.99.
There we go. Yeah, they're not as expensive as some of the other ones, but I guess that goes.
Right, but they did announce that there are upcoming Marvel Legends figures. Did you see those?
No, I did not.
For the Marvel for based on the Moon Knight Disney Plus series, right. And there's going to be a Mr. Knight figure.
Okay, sweet.
As well as the Moon Knight in the TV show costume.
Gotcha.
Like the full Moon Knight regalia.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Next up, though, speaking of Moon Knight, Marvel's Moon Knight of the Future debuts in Black, White, and Blood at first look. So, Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood is the next installment in Marvel's color-themed franchise, and the publisher has some all-star creators lined up for its debut issue. Two of those names include acclaimed writer Jonathan Hickman and iconic artist Chris Bachalo. I've still not figured out how to say that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we've ever found out. Yeah. Well, at some point we'll talk to like a Marvel editor at a Comic-Con and be like, hey, how's this pronounced?
Right, or run up on him,
Exactly.
But yeah, so they're teaming up for the Moon Knight of the Future. ComicBook.com has a exclusive first look that is in this article, and it also goes on to talk about a couple of other stories that is going to be in this series. So, and the first issue goes on sale May 18th. So that's going to be next month.
Next, Beyond Amazing. Hopefully this is the last time we see the word Beyond associated with Spider-Man. The exhibition, 60 Years of Marvel's Iconic Superheroes to be Celebrated, an exclusive installation commemorating the Friendly Neighborhood Web-Slinger's 60th anniversary is set to premiere in July at San Diego's Comic-Con Museum. Good.
Yeah. So if you're going to be out there, go for it. Spider-Man's Forgotten Clone makes a mind-bending return, I guess, according to this article. Basically, Spider-Side, I do not know of this character. Let's see. Spider-Side, which was another clone, showed up in Ben Reilly's.
That's just me clapping because the Metsies just won another opening day game.
Okay. Ben Reilly Spider-Man #3, which came out recently. Spoilers for that, I guess. Neither one of us are reading it, so we don't care. But yeah, there's another Spider clone that's coming out that showed up in that book. Okay. Next.
Marvel reveals Miles Morales' next major ally or enemy. Oh my God! Seriously? Seriously, is his baby sister. My goodness. Billy Morales. All right. So yeah, so this is probably part of the Multiversal Madness, his own version of Multiversal Madness. Miles is gonna come face to face with a character named the Spider Smasher. While the publisher has kept the identity and allegiances of the character hidden up until now, Marvel announced that the person behind the Spider Smasher costume is none other than Billy Morales. So yeah, this is definitely part of that whole multiversal adventure that Miles is on right now in the pages of his book.
Is that Gonki in the Punisher costume? For those watching the video version, there's a cover that I am showing that weirdly looks kind of Stargate-ish, but also has to do with that evil Miles Morales that we spoke of last week. So
yeah, it's kind of like a take on the Punisher.
Yeah, but
also with magic to obviously play into the Gonki version. The Gonki clone in the MCU,
and some art and some other covers for that stuff. So yeah. Next up, celebrate the women of Marvel with these free comic books. So through April 25th, you can read major story arcs featuring Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, America Chavez, and Jane Foster's Thor. Again, free on Marvel Unlimited. And this article goes into what books that you'll be able to read, including Thor 2014 1-5, which is the beginning of the beginning of Jane Foster's run as Thor. Miss Marvel 1-5 and some other stuff. Next up.
Alrighty. Daredevil. Oh, jeez. Yeah, so I talked about this a little bit in Devil's Reign number 6, so I think we could probably skip this story.
Yeah, but basically, somebody gets vowed to murder and blah 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 blah.
Or, yeah.
But you can take the next one.
All right, Marvel is set to debut Bloodline, Daughter of Blade on Free Comic Book Day. They called her Bloodline? Really?
Yeah.
Like after a bad DC crossover?
I thought she had
named after a bad DC crossover.
So,
Well, let me finish the story and then we can get into our commentary. So, Marvel has officially announced its plans for the latest Free Comic Book Day event. And Marvel revealed that this year's Free Comic Book Day Avengers X-Men #1 will introduce Bloodline, a new character who is the daughter of Marvel's Blade, the Vampire Hunter. Bloodline, also known as Brielle, will be introduced in a story from Danny Lore and Karen S. Darbo. The Free Comic Book Day Avengers X-Men #1 special will be released to participating retailers on Saturday, May 7th. It's surprising on multiple levels because those familiar with the Daywalker's tenure in Marvel, especially for those familiar with Blade's tenure in Marvel, back in 2015, the all-new, all-different Marvel Initiative teased the debut of Blade's daughter, who would have debuted in a new Blade series from Tim Seeley and Logan Ferber. This version of the character would have been Fallon Gray, a popular 16-year-old from rural Oregon, who learns that she's Blade's daughter when supernatural trouble finds its way to her rural home. So that's an interesting development for this character,
right? And that was the part I was going to bring up, because like the Blade's daughter thing is not new, and even though if you're watching the video, the date of this article may seem a little fishy, it is not, because this has come up in since and prior to this. So I'm curious what denoted the change. That's why I was going to bring it up. But I don't know whether we'll find out or not. Anyway, famed X-Men writer Ann Nocenti reunites with Longshot, mutant character. So this July, Marvel Comics writer and longtime X-Men editor Ann Nocenti returns to the Mojoverse for X-Men Legends. Wait, number 3? That seems... Aren't they in the teens at this point? Anyway. Written by Nocenti and illustrated by Javier Pena, X-Men Legends, I feel like I might be 13, but maybe I'm wrong. Kicks off a 2-part story arc that serves as a direct follow-up to the 1985 limited series Longshot, in which Nocenti and Arthur Adams, art to some folks, introduce readers to Longshot, Mojo, and Spiral. Set in the Mojoverse. And it says here, according to Marvel, that the new story will shed new light on Longshot, filling in the gap between the fan favorite hero's mysterious original adventure and his tenure on the X-Men. So, fans of Longshot, there you go, I guess.
Next up, hey, I have that Longshot limited series. I have it all signed by Art Adams.
Do you? Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, we can talk about this because we did tease it. Go ahead.
What, the next story?
Yeah,
that Black Widow ends with issue number 15. Writer Kelly Thompson teases more story. I mean, this is good because I didn't know that she was teasing that there was more. Right. So it's come to an end, as we talked about earlier, for now at least. On Kelly Thompson's Substack page, She confirmed that issue number 15 not only marks the end of the Die by the Blade story arc, but also the end of the series as a whole. However, she also revealed that there are indeed plans for a bit more story from the book's creative team. Let's see here what she says here. So she does say that there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, and it's not always something you can talk about publicly.
Makes sense.
She says, to be honest, she still can't talk about it as much as she'd like, but what she can say is that there are plans for a bit more story from this creative team, and she continued, things are still being wrangled, but she's optimistic it will work out and be worth the wait. Okay.
So probably an annual, I suspect, but who knows?
Yeah, or a one-shot, something like that, or maybe like a tiny limited series. You know, it sucks because, you know, this is reminiscent of what's happened with Black Cat.
Right. True. You're right. You're right. And other books. I mean, Silk also had a similar thing happen to it.
Right, and it's still happening because, you know, what they're giving Silk are these kind of really short, you know, 5-issue limited series, and the current series, while it's not billed as a limited, I think you said that it was billed as a limited series now.
Yes, correct.
Right. So yeah. So even though it wasn't initially billed as a limited series, I think it's become one. And so, you know, we're getting these like 5-issue limited series, which is, it's cool that they're coming out in relatively rapid succession, but at the same time, it'd be nice that, you know, to just keep, you know, continuing forward with these series. We're kind of getting that with Shang-Chi too.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, because they're about to renumber him too.
Right. Even though they're not skipping a beat.
Right. Which is the thing about these things. Yeah, they don't skip a beat; they just renumber, keep going.
Right.
But R.I.P. Gary Leach, 2000 AD artist collaborator with Alan Moore on Miracle Man. So yeah, he was Gary Leach was the artist for 2000 AD during that comics golden age, and collaborated with Alan Moore on the revival of Marvel Man, later renamed Miracle Man. He died on March 26th at the age of 67th, and the rest of the article goes into his career. So yeah, there's that. Next,
DC's Batman Beyond reboot introduces a new villain to Terry McGinnis's Rogues Gallery. So this is spinning out of Batman Urban Legends. Batman Beyond Neo Year not only puts Terry McGinnis on his own path, but gives him a new villain to face. So this is written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, former guests of the show, with art from Max Dunbar. Batman Beyond Neo Year #1 picks up after the events of Batman Urban Legends #7. Okay. Terry McGinnis. Wow, so there's some serious spoilers here that I'm not going to talk about.
Yeah, it does kind of go into it. But yeah, hey, there you go. Like I said last week, those Terry McGinnis fans rejoice, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I like Terry McGinnis as a character. I not enough though to pick up the comic.
Right. Well, the only reason why I picked up the one from the one talked about last week, which granted is still an Elseworlds joint, is because it's set in that Elseworlds that I like. So there is that. DC's new Young Justice series continues the legacy of Phantoms. So, Young Justice Targets is a new series from DC written by Young Justice Phantoms showrunner Greg Weisman with art from Christopher Jones. The series, which launches in July, continues the story of Young Justice Phantoms, which is, as we know, on HBO Max at this point. The plot for Young Justice Targets, well, it's basically going through the plot of it, having to do with Queen Perdita being kidnapped and some other things going on. I am lost on that show, so I do not know. But regardless, July is when this book is going to happen. Next
up, WEBTOON DC announced new titles starring Vixen, Red Hood, Zatanna, Constantine, and more. So this is online comic stuff. WEBTOON and DC announced a new slate of digital comics featuring Red Hood, Constantine, and more that will release on WEBTOON in the upcoming months. So it's starting with Vixen NYC on May 26th. So that is soon. Red Hood, Outlaws, and Zatanna And The Ripper will follow later this summer. All comics will be available exclusively on Webtoon and feature iconic DC Universe characters as part of a previously announced creative partnership between the two companies. Okay.
Yeah,
I
there's
have never looked into this Webtoon stuff. Have you?
yeah, actually. I've off and on read God of High School on there and a couple other things um on there. So yeah, I have, but not since this collaboration between DC and Webtoons.
Okay.
So yeah, I might check some of this out. Last but not least, Star Trek Online teams with IDW for more dark adventures in the Mirror Universe. So, folks may or may not know Star Trek Online is the MMO from Cryptic Studios, and I guess Gearbox is publishing. That part I did not know, but it's free to play, and you can play as a Star Trek captain. I enjoyed that game. I did not know it going free to play, but because I've been playing for free for a while. Anyway, um, uh, it says here that they are going to go into the realm of the Star Trek's Mirror Universe. Not surprised with the new partnership between IDW Publishing and Star Trek Online, so that so I guess it's more material for both the game and I guess a book that's coming, because they have been doing the I guess excuse me stuff going into the game that is coming off of the books that are now going on, because there's that whole Mirror War thing that's going on, and the whole Mirror Universe miniseries that have been going on for the last couple of years on IDW. So I guess they're basically taking on some of that and then folding it into Star Trek Online, according to this article. Sounds like. So yeah, and it sounds like actually there is also going to be, it's like a crossover with Star Trek Online and the Mirror Universe books of that IDW is putting out, and maybe more, and maybe another book or two. So that's kind of cool. I haven't played Star Trek Online in a good minute, but I have been reading those Mirror War books, which I think one came out this week or last week, one of the two, but that I forgot to read. But yeah, cool. And that's it, folks. We have come to the end of this here show. We got one last ad read.
Our last ad read of the night is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Have you ever tried an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today.
And that's it, folks. We will see you all next week for another episode of this here pop. Oh, I was going to say Pop Culture Network. That's not right at all. Comic Book Chronicles. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. Find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PCN_Dirt on Twitter. Pop Culture Network, that's his joint. Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and all its umbrella sites therein. Tim, DOGD98 on Twitter. CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. The Click Nation on Twitter, and also theclicknation.com. But more importantly and often, comicbook.com, where he's over there writing his face off. Which I should be saying writing his hands off, because you don't write with your face. But you know what? We're going to let that roll. You can find this here podcast on the Coast of the Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us in your podcast browser place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. We stream every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Click Nation, that youtube.com/TheClickNation, and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. Feel free to subscribe to any of all those places. If you want to see us go live, catch us then. We're there. Hopefully we're doing some more streaming at some point. In fact, I got some stuff lined up. I keep saying that, but now I'm almost ready for it. With that, folks, like I said, we'll be back next week. And there's really nothing else to say because I totally forgot to pull out the toy corner thing as I was going to do. But this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
I love it when a plan comes together.
There it goes.